We're located down here in Los Angeles, in Sherman Oaks, California specifically. So at least we're working in the same time zone. And for me personally, I'm a former Washingtonian, so I try to get up there as often as I can. That's all we do is temperature monitoring solutions. So we don't dabble in anything else. So, we talk what we do. It's a whole Intelli theme, from Intellisense, Intellicheck for food products. Everything we talk about here was designed, developed, and owned by us. I am not an engineer by background. I've learned quite a bit over the years, but I am certainly not at their level of knowledge. But it's a pleasure to work with these folks, and everything we talk about for the next few minutes are going to be products that we've developed ourselves and we own, and we actually even manufacture domestically a little bit south of Los Angeles and San Diego. Turnkey solution is probably as important as anything that any company does. It is for us because you can ship a few boxes and say, hey, it's been great, good luck with this, hope it works out. But the real work comes after you've committed to implementing the product and making sure that we have the right install team on board. And certainly where Janelle and Jeff and Devin and the group at PRNW come in is to make sure that everything is working properly. So again, it's the after install support that we pride ourselves on, to make sure that everything is working properly and that you're getting what we committed to. So that's enough about us. That's who we are, and where we come from and how long we've been doing it. I can tell you the food service K through 12 schools has been a huge business for us, and collectively we have about 5 billion data points that we're monitoring, because we do beyond K through 12 schools. We do food service, but we do a lot of healthcare, life sciences too. So like certainly a different segment than what we're dealing with when we're talking here, but we do the entire CDC temperature monitoring in both Atlanta and Fort Collins, Colorado. So with the current virus we got going on, we've been very busy with that. But again, the heart and soul of where we started this business is K through 12 schools. So this is just kind of for fun. So this is what we don't do. There's not too many people. Well, and I shouldn't say that. There might be some people still using the handwritten forms, but it's not what we do. So what we're going to provide is a daily summary sheet. So this is just a screenshot of a facility I think in North Carolina. You look at a live one, so we don't need to spend time looking at this, but that's kind of the contrast compared to what people were doing with the pencil whip. So if you were to ask me, give me the elevator version, this would be it. The story starts here. The heart of what we do are the first two bullet points, which is 24/7 monitoring, alarm notifications. So as you're not working on Saturday, Sunday, you don't have staff on board, and as you're off on spring break and summer break and winter break and certain holidays, we're not. Our sensors are transmitting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have no ideas if it's a holiday or if it's a weekend. They're still transmitting data. Part of that transmission of data is alarm notification. So if a cabinet is operating in an unsafe zone, as defined by the thresholds and the delays in the software, we're going to send out an email. We're going to send out a cell text, both either to those individuals that receive them. It'll tell you the location, it'll tell you the cabinet, will tell you what it's operating at. And so again, you can set up as many people to receive alerts as you want. You can set up as many people to view the software as you want without any additional cost or fees or whatnot. There's no limit to that. So again, that's the heart of what a temperature monitoring system does, is to monitor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and notify you if a cabinet is operating in an unsafe zone as defined by the thresholds and the delays. When I say that, we take every precaution. There is such a thing. If there isn't, it should be noted, alarm fatigue, because you can get alarms so that eventually you just say, it's that thing again. And then you're going to get one, and then all of a sudden it's going to come back and be a cabinet failure, and you're not going to respond to it. So we take every precaution. Again, we're not perfect, but we do a pretty good job of making sure that when we do send an alert out, it's because the cabinet is in distress and not just because we want to annoy you. So, that's why we have delays in there for defrost cycles, and we have, you might have Wednesday delivery, and you might get a notification for that. But again, oftentimes that's because they're leaving the door open too long too. So again, that's the heart of what we do. You see asset management, preventive maintenance. I'm going to talk a little bit about when we get to the live site on that, what I'm talking about. And again, We've had a lot of customers who incorporated it into their standard operating procedures. We've had other customers that said, that's not my thing, that's facilities, or we already have software for that. And that's fine. But again, I would be remiss if we didn't at least go through with you and show you what's available as part of our standard Fusion Life software package. And then you see the mobile devices. Again, those are great tools, great resources, because what it does, it allows you to view your site from any mobile device. So it works with iOS, works with Android. And what it does is when you get an alert, you can just, and you're not at the office and you're not anywhere where there's a computer, you can just go to your mobile device and you can really get a clear picture. After all these years that I've been doing this, I can tell when a cabinet is failing, when there's the coils are iced up, or the door might be open, or there's freon leak or something. You can see it right away in that graph. So again, we want to make it easy for you to manage it, but we also don't want to let you get too far away from work. So. And then we also have for food temps too, and I'm not sure if we're going to have time to get into that, but it's a separate solution, but it operates off the same software, and that's what we call Intellicheck. It's for checking your food temps as it's being cooked, held, served, whatever it might be. Okay, so here's how we do it. So I've taken a handful of cabinets that you would find in a facility and laid it out how we transmit this data. So we'll use the walk-in because, again, I would say probably 100% of our food service customers make sure they monitor their walk-ins. Others say this thing works so great, I want to incorporate it into my reach-ins and my milk coolers too. But again, everything is modular. So if you say I want to start with my walk-ins because that's where most of my money is, and I can't serve food if my walk-ins fail me on Saturday or Sunday. My staff comes in on Monday, so we do a lot of walk-ins. So we'll use this one as an example. Again, we'll say this is just a combi cooler freezer. So when you walk in the front, you got a cooler, then you have a door, and then you might have a freezer in the back. And so we have this sensor, which is what we call an Intellisensor. It's a transmitter. So how we make this happen is that we have an installer that's going to come in. He's going to mount this sensor on the outside of the walk-in. Now, we like to mount it on the outside because it just gives you a lot longer battery life on it. The batteries are designed to last 3+ years on this. And the reason they have a little bit longer life than you anticipate is because they only transmit just for a millisecond every time they wake up. They're set by default to wake up every 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, we're transmitting the temperature of this cooler and freezer to this device. So again, getting back to the transmitter, so you have the transmitter mounted on the outside. You take a probe out of one output, you run it into the cooler. You take a probe out of the other output and run it into the freezer. Now, the advantage that you have with the sensor from eControl Systems is that we can monitor up to 4 cabinets with one sensor. So again, you can save significant monies on hardware if you can, put multiple cabinets on one sensor. So in this case, we're just doing the cooler and the freezer. So we have this sensor here. We take a probe into the cooler, probe into the freezer. It's going to transmit wirelessly, again, just driven off 2 AA lithium batteries that are designed to last 3+ years to this device. This device is what we call an IntelliGate. It's a receiver. It needs 2 components. It needs an outlet for the power supply we provide, and it needs a data port for the Ethernet cable we provide. It's just one-way communication out. So the IT department, they get a little concerned when you talk about, systems on their network. All we're doing is communicating information out, just a quick burst out, just through port 443. So generally speaking, about a 1-minute call with your IT folks, and everybody's on the same page. So again, that's as simple as it gets. This transmits wirelessly the temperature of whatever cabinet it's reading. In this case, we're talking about this cooler freezer to this device. This device is set in a location where there's a power outlet and where there's a data port. So generally speaking, the kitchen manager's office is an area where there is an active data port available. The range on this is usually 250 to 300 feet from here to here. And that usually is not a problem in a kitchen. Sometimes we have central warehouses that are a little bit bigger. And so what we'll incorporate is what we call a mesh router. So if the range from here to here is the signal strength is low, we'll incorporate what we call a mesh router. It's just a signal booster, and it boosts the signal from here to here. So again, it's a pretty simple process. So the reality of it is, if you have a school and you have a walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer, and they're maybe not a combi cooler freezer, but they're next to each other, you would need one sensor to run a probe into one, probe into the other, transmits to this device. This device again sends it out to our cloud, and it's all web-based. So again, you're going to have our cloud address. You're going to have your username, password, so you can access it from anywhere. So very simple process. Hang Hang on just a second. This is got too many bells and whistles coming my way. Okay, so we got the Intellisense System. So this is just a little bit better picture of it. So we went from here to here. So these are the devices we're talking about in that photo. So this is the sensor here. So this is an NTC22. So this one here, NTC22 means nothing for us. It allows you to monitor 2 temperatures and actually 2 door switches. We have some that are just all four temps, but we have some schools that say, and some customers who say, we want to know when the doors are open too. So we have the ability to measure 2 temperatures and 2 doors on the same sensor. This is that Intelligate, the receiver. So it's got the power and it's got the data port there. This is the mesh router that I talked about, which is a signal booster in case you need to boost the range from here to here. And we'll know immediately if we need to do that. And it just comes with the power supply. So it just plugs into an outlet. You don't need any data port for this. And this is just a BIP sensor, and just to give you some insight to this is what we call a built-in probe, is the acronym for that. So there's no temperature outputs down here. The probe is built inside. So oftentimes what we'll use this for is for reach-ins, because we don't want to drill into anything that is self-contained, like milk coolers or reach-ins. And so we'll just insert this in the inside of that reach-in, and then it transmits that information out to the Intelligate. Some of these things we talked about already. The only other point I want to make with the sensor is that within this sensor, there is a data logger. And what this data logger does is that if you have a network interruption or a power outage, 2 things will happen. One, we'll send you a disconnect notice. So we'll say, hey, we're disconnected. We can't tell you why. We're just telling you that we can't get information out to our cloud because there's no power or the network is down, generally is what the 2 problems are with that. The second thing that happens is that this data logger internally kicks on, and it starts storing the temperature of that cabinet during the time we're unable to get information out to our cloud. So you lose real-time information, but ultimately it'll catch up when the network is restored, the power's back up. And I can cite example after example with the recent Texas freeze. We do a lot of business in Texas. I mean, we're all over San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, all of the major metro areas. And suffice it to say that they didn't have any power in many of those places. So what's transpired is that as the power has come back on and the networks are operational again, all that information that was stored within this data logger. So the power went out in most locations about on 2:15. It came on yesterday. So for 3 days, they were without power. And so what they did is that they're now looking at the reports, because this is now that the powers have been restored, this has downloaded all that information that it stored during the 3 days that the power was out and we weren't able to get information out. So now they can go back and look at all the temperatures throughout those 3 days to determine, what product is still good or not. So it's worked out very well for them. So it's a prime example of the value of that data logger. Okay, so that's enough on that. The BIP we talked about, it's the built-in probe, so it's a simple install. It just mounts right inside a milk cooler or right inside a reach-in. Monitoring solutions. So again, these are just some of the ones we do. Main ones we do is walk-in coolers, freezers, but we certainly have the capacity to do all these other ones, and we do in many cases monitor those. The Intellicheck, and again, I'm not sure how deep in the weeds we'll get with this, but it's a separate solution, but again, it operates off the same software, Fusion Life software. So all we've done is we've taken an Android or an iOS device, and we're going to put your entire menu on here. You're going to scroll through it. I see people doing it every day, whether they're walking or driving, they're scrolling through something. And so all your menu items are listed there, whatever phase you want to check it in. So it could be delivery, it could be cooking, could be holding, could be serving. You're just going to scroll through it. You have a Bluetooth probe, you insert the probe into the product you're testing. So let's say you have some beef, you insert the probe into the beef, it's going to measure the temperature. It's going to say when it hits the green, says, save reading, you hit the button and it transmits that information in real time to Fusion Live, out to our cloud. And so you can see it in real time, what's going on in your kitchen. So that's what we call, again, Intellicheck. So it's in addition to what we provide as far as the equipment goes. Custom dashboards we'll show you. So we have a couple new features that we've just brought into the mix. And again, we're a technology-driven company. As painful as that is for a guy who works in sales to say. So A lot of reports, well, I should say many of the reports that we've incorporated over the years are because of customers like you, because again, the engineers are really smart people, but they don't live in your world. So if you tell them a report that would be very advantageous or beneficial for your operations, they'll listen and they'll incorporate it. I can tell you one of our bigger customers is Tampa, Florida, is Hillsborough County Schools. They have about 220 schools that we're monitoring, and we're monitoring about, I don't know, 5 to 6 different points at each school. And so they've given us some ideas, and it's made sense for us. It's made sense for them. And it makes sense usually for our customer base. So usually big customers bring good ideas, and so we'll listen. And that's it. So to this point, we are done with the slides, and we'll go to the live site. And Janelle, I'll throw it at you. Is there anything that surfaced that needs to be answered while we are on the hardware itself?
No, not yet. I think you're doing good.
Okay. So you're going to see a new screen here. Okay. So let me know that, just confirm that you can see that.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So this is just one of the sites. And so we're going to go through this site here. It's Magnolia. They've given it, it's been a customer of ours for probably about 15 years. And the reality of it is they still actually have some of the same hardware from 15 years ago monitoring some of these schools. So it's just a small district. It's in Anaheim, California. They have, I don't know, like 10 or 11 schools here that we're monitoring. And so we're going to go through that one. And these ones here are just some of the ones that we're doing. So you can see green is good. So Amy's happy, and Josh is happy, and Teresa's happy. So everybody's happy there at those sites, your brethren there in Washington. But we're going to go through Magnolia and just take a look. So again, this is the main location, Magnolia. And then under that, they have their different schools. Now, as a manager, you'll want to see all the schools, so you'll be logged in at the main site. Now, if you want your kitchen managers engaged, we would set them up so they would only see their schools. So when they open up Fusion Live, they're not looking at everybody else's site, they're just looking at their specific site. So those are what we call tags. So again, depending on the level of what you want everybody to see, we can set them up so they only see what you want them to see. So we're going to go through here specifically, and we'll just go through Jonas Salk. So just one thing about Anaheim I just wanted to share with you is that this is a district that only in California we can have the guy that cured polio down to Walt Disney in the same district. But that's just their words, who knows. And I never knew who these other people were, but she's the Girl Scout. I think this is the Boy Scout. I think this is I don't think this is the Hollywood Squares game show host, Peter Marshall, but it's the best I can come up with. So we'll go to Jonas Salk. Now the configuration buttons. Now I'm set up as a manager. So as a manager, I have those configuration buttons throughout the site. So it allows me to navigate and work behind the scenes. So again, I'm not going to go through all these because a lot of this stuff is just information that our tech support would set up for you. So whether it's the alarm types and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. But just a couple things. So this is just information of the site. This is devices. And I think this is actually a good tool for our customers, because what it allows them to do is to initial troubleshoot a problem. So again, green is good. So we're always happy with green. Red would be an alert. If you saw that in there, if you saw blue triangle, that would be a disconnect, meaning that you got something has disconnected, whether it's the Intelligate, which is the receiver with the antenna, or the sensor itself. So here I can go to the Intelligate, and I can see that the Intelligate last transmitted at 9:22. Which was about, I don't know, 3 minutes ago. So that means this Intelligate is working. You can go in here and you can go to the NTC22, which is the sensor that's monitoring the walk-in cooler and walk-in freezer. And I can see that it last transmitted at 9:22. So that tells me they're both working. So if you do have a disconnect in there, the first thing you'd want to do is go here to devices and look to see if the Intelligate is working, because it might be a network issue or something. Or if that's working and you clicked on this and it didn't transmit recently, then you would know that it was the sensor. So just might be getting ahead of myself, but I think it's a great tool. And then users contacts, we kind of talked about this. So you have a user, you have a manager. So as a user, you can see all the information, you can log in, you can access, you can navigate, you can see it, but you don't have those configuration buttons available to make you allow you to change thresholds, change delays, add assets, that kind of thing. So Angela is obviously can't be trusted. I say that jokingly. Angela's a very sweet person. And then you can go to a manager just as that. So that's just a little bit behind the scenes to show you what's going on. So now we're going to go in here and we're going to look at some of the features that we have. So we're going to go in here and you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm going to explain why that other stuff is in here, because all we're monitoring is where you see the color-coded checks. That's the walk-in cooler and the walk-in freezer. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to click on this and I'm going to go to the temperature of the walk-in freezer. And so I can tell you that the last reading we took was at 9:06. It was 3.8 degrees. Okay. Now they do theirs every 30 minutes. So they're comfortable getting that information, which is still a lot of data. And it gives them a little bit longer battery life by going from 15 to 30 minutes. So that's what they do there. So you can see the last reading we took was at 9:06. So 30 minutes later, the next one will be at 9:36. 3.8 degrees. Now you can see here that there's a reading that went above the threshold. So the threshold is set at 15 degrees. Okay. The low threshold is set at -20. So I can see that one reading went above the 15-degree mark. However, no alert was sent out because they have a 90-minute delay built into it. So what they're telling software, right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, everybody has their own ideas how this should work. But they're saying, don't send us a notification via email or via cell text till this cabinet is operated at 15 degrees or higher, or 0 degrees or -20 degrees or lower for 90 minutes consecutively. Okay. So again, I'm not passing judgment or saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent. That's their safe zone on a freezer. Okay. So that's what, that's how we avoid sending them notifications, because again, this is just a standard operating procedure. It's nothing more than a defrost, and it's going to go through, you know, in some cases, usually 4 a day, where that temperature, they got to clear the coils off that ice off the coils. So it goes through a defrost, and that's what happens. Now walk-in cooler. So they've got the same thing going on. No, this is not a defrost. So I'm not exactly sure why that would have peaked like that, unless, you know, it's a delivery of some sort. But they have the high threshold there, 41 degrees. They have the low threshold, 32. And again, they have a 90-minute delay built into that. So again, that's their safe zone. So they said, if you notify us within that time frame, that's all we're asking of you. Okay. I can go over here. So we can go up here, and if I want to go back and take a look at the alarm. So we talked about the alarm thresholds on that, and those are easily changed. So again, just so you know, we're always available to you via phone call. And again, we have a guy there at 6 in the morning, Pacific time, which is probably not even as early as some of you folks start, because I see some early risers in the food service industry. But we're there at 6 o'clock, and sometimes even earlier. We have a tech support come in earlier because we do a lot of East Coast business, so we have to get started earlier until 6 at night. But again, it's a very simple process if you want to go in and change it yourself. If you say 15 degrees is too high or too low or whatever the number is, it's a simple process to go in and adjust that critical high, and it's a simple process to adjust the delay. And if you have a situation, we have this where we have snooze. So we have some cabinets that they go offline and they say, okay, I don't want to be notified, so I'm going to go to snooze, and you put in a date you want to put in. So, okay, I'm going to turn this off, and it's going to start up again on March 1st. Then you put in March 1st. And so the alarm will go dead until March 1st, it'll come back on. So we used to have just a bypass alarm, and it worked great because it bypassed the alarm, but then people would forget to turn it back on, and that kind of defeated the purpose of what we're trying to get accomplished. So we went with this alarm snooze. Okay. So that's what you have there. Now, I'm going to share this with you. And again, I'm going to be as concise and articulate as I can. And I won't take up a lot of your time because you may not see value in it. But again, you're going to look at this and say, well, why does this knucklehead have all this other stuff on here? So why is a Montague oven on here? Now, we're not monitoring a Montague oven. Okay. But what we're doing is giving this customer, or you, or all of our customers, the ability to track this as an asset. Okay, so it's Montague oven, name, manufacturer, model number, serial number, install date, warranty, anything you want to put in there, you can, and even a picture of it. So again, just to be clear, we are not monitoring a Montague oven, but part of our features and resources available within Fusion Live is what we call asset management and preventive maintenance, which I'll show you also. So again, that's what we're doing with those items. We're not monitoring them, but we're giving you the resources to track it. And it's a simple process. If you say, okay, I want to add an asset. So I would go up here to the location, Jonas Salk, click on this, add asset, whatever that asset is, name, manufacturer, model number, serial number, put in that information, you save it, and it's going to surface over here. Okay. So again, that's usually the hard part, is making sure you have all that information available to you to go ahead and enter it. But once it's there, then you have it. And again, it's just a resource for you. If you can use it, great. If you can't, then don't worry about it. Okay, so that's part of the asset management. So moving on, we are going to go navigate the dashboard. So as we go here and we go up here, so you're going to see these little icons. So this is just the main dashboard. So again, this information, active alarms, open tickets. Alarms, this is actually a good one because there are no alarms, but if there was an alarm, it would list the location, it would list the asset, it would tell you what it's measuring, tell you when it started, tell you when the last checked, and tell you the last value. So again, what it does, it tracks every alert that is in progress, and it allows you to view that from the length of time it's been in that alert and at what temperature. So instead of doing the, I'm not saying you do, but people will squeeze product or check to see if it's still edible. Now you have this information right at your disposal. You'll know exactly how long it's been like that. Okay, so we're going to go to tickets. And again, I'll just I'll put this in its perspective, proper place as part of the asset management preventive maintenance. So tickets are generated three ways. Tickets are generated through an alarm we generate. These are points our sensor can monitor. That's our sensors are monitoring, high threshold and low threshold, maybe a door open. So in this case, at Walt Disney, this ticket number was generated on the walk-in freezer on January 15th. They had a high threshold alarm. Now, if I wanted to go through and identify what that alert was, I would click on this and I would put in ticket cause. So let's say the ticket cause was compressor fail. Ticket action was to replace the compressor. The cost of doing that was $800. I would acknowledge, close ticket, and save, and it would track it for me in a report. Okay, so that's through an alarm we generate. If it's an item we're monitoring, a product asset we're monitoring, and we generate an alert, you can track it. If it's an item we're not monitoring, so again, I can go here to Jonas Salk and I'll go to the Montague oven, and I want to track any work order against that, I can put in to do the same thing. So I can say ticket cause, whatever the cause was, whatever the action was, whatever the cost was, I would acknowledge and save, and it would track it for me in a report. So now, even if it's an item we're not monitoring, you can still track any work orders against that, and you can identify what work has been done against that asset. The third leg of this, I can click on any asset, and I can go up here, and I can go up to, sorry about that, to maintenance. And all the preventive maintenance tasks that are performed on every asset are listed here. So this is your menu. So you go ahead and put in these maintenance tasks, or anything you want to do. It could be a checklist of some sort. Anything you need to be accountable for can be notified, can be noted in here. You have a start date when you want that notification to begin. You have an anniversary date, so how often you want to be notified of that task. And then you check it as it relates to that cabinet. So in this case, on the dish machine, they got treat water replace filter beginning in August of 2015, every 30 days. So every 30 days, we send them an email or cell text or both that says preventive maintenance. It doesn't say high threshold, it doesn't say low threshold. It says preventive maintenance, treat water replace filter. So it's just a reminder for you to do that. And then you would go in accordingly. And you would say, okay, we sent them one on 2/2. And you would say, okay, replace filter. If there was a cost, you would acknowledge, close ticket, and save, and we'll track it for you. Okay. So with that, I trust it'll make sense. If not, then ask questions and we can answer them afterwards. Okay. So that was the alarms. That was your tickets. Maintenance we talk about. Documents, again, it's just a tool to operate more efficiently. So what we've done here is giving you, based upon customer feedback, they asked for anything that we can incorporate into Fusion Live to operate more efficiently, and use Fusion Live as a dashboard for them for beyond temperature monitoring. So they got the Fusion Live user manual in here, the Intellicheck manual in here. So again, it's not the heart of what we do, but it's available to you as a resource. Now we're going to go to reports, and I've opened up a bunch of these earlier because I didn't want to wait for them to load, although they don't take very long to load. So I went here and I started let me go here. with alarms. So I opened these up today. So 223, and you take whatever start each one. So these are the ones that I think are of the best value and probably pertinent to your operations. So these are the alarms. So I've taken this and I'm going to look at all the alarms from 2/1. Well, there's been none. So none to be had. So from February 1st, February 21st, has been no alarms at Jonas Salk. If there were, they would be listed in here. So again, it just gives you a 30,000 foot view of the alarms that have taken place for whatever time period you want to put in there. Asset maintenance. So again, this is the end result, and I'll quit talking about it, I promise, after this, of that asset management. So again, every asset on that navigation bar is listed here. So there's your reach-in cooler, walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer, money oven. So again, if you see value in this and you go through and you identify the tickets by date, cause, action, cost, it'll accrue for you for the last 13 months, last 5 years. So again, I realize that, facilities may already have something. I know School Dudes is one system that's out there that is built around this. This is just a feature that is available to you as a working feature within our Fusion Live. Audit log, I'm not sure how important it is to you, but it's about accountability. And so it allows you to go in and see who is logged in. So let's say you have your kitchen managers are assigned to take a look at this once a week, and they say, sure, I've been looking at it. So, and I'm not saying that, you can't be trusting of your staff, but if you want to go and check on it, it will tell you exactly what date they logged in, who the user was, because they have their own username, what their action was, what their objective, what the description was. So again, it's about accountability, and it's probably not as much in the food service world as it is in that healthcare world. This is the one that's important. So again, the daily summary. So I've taken from last Friday today's date at Jonas Salk. So this is real time. So this is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and today's date up until 8 o'clock is when I pulled out the data. So again, in their case, they're reading it 2 times an hour. So that's the average temperature of those 2 readings for every hour. And then you see a 24-hour period. So Friday, 37.6, 37.3, 37.3, 37.6. So that you're consistent. That's good. If there was an alert in there, it would show up as red. The only other thing we have in here, and it's probably not pertaining as much to what your needs are as it is to that other business that we're in, which is the life science. They need to not only the average temperature, but they need to know minimum, maximum. So they need to know fluctuations, because if they're storing COVID vaccine in there, they need to know, what the minimum, what the maximum temperatures were for that hour and for the day. Okay, so that's your daily summary. And then the only other one is the tickets by location. And again, this is the end result of that. So if you go through and you identify the ticket by date, objective, reason, cause, whatnot, it'll store it for you there. The only other one I'm going to show you now is going to show a whole list of schools. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to this one. And this is a really good report that's available to you. And what a lot of people have done is this. So I'm going to go to Asset Dashboard. It's going to take just a couple seconds to load because it's got a lot of gauges it's monitoring. So you can see here. So these are a list of all those schools. So there's, again, Ephrata, some of these. And so if you just don't identify all these districts, but just your own district, it'll show every school site in real time. So what we've seen a lot of our customers do is take this report and put it on a big screen, and they put it in a central area, where there's a working area where there's staff and, there's people milling about. They put this up on the big screen all day, and you can just see what's going on. So as long as it's green, everybody just is fine and goes about their business. If there's a red in there, somebody can step up and say, hey, I see a critical alert at such and such location. Is it what's going on?